Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I just want to give a quick update of where I'm at with the Signal Sleuth, which is the ESP32 war driver with BW16 mod board that I'm working on. And there's been a few things I've figured out. There's still a lot of things I can't figure out, but let's kind of go over where I'm at with it. So first, you can kind of see it's a good looking board. I'm real happy with it. But I think I'm going to end up going into a complete redesign. First off, it was pretty expensive to get them all already assembled. And I was just doing that trying to save time. I didn't think I'd have as many issues as I did. But for some reason, I cannot get my ESPs to go through the auto boot. One issue I know I did is I swapped RX and TX. So you can see I kind of fixed that here. So as I've been able to see what this ESP specifically will output, I didn't have a resistor going 3 volt to EN. Now I do. Although now that I think about it, it might be on the wrong end of EN. I need to look at that. It's another thing I need to try. I'll try that before I do anything else. I don't have this SDA and SCL attached at all. You can see there's no traces going to them there. And on the back side, there's no traces going to them. Traces are real thin. But I do, on this next revision, I'm going to do a ground plane. I'm debating on keeping the edge mount SMAs and going for something to go with something like this, where it'll still mount to the PCB, but it has an IPEX connector, so that we don't have to worry about any additional loss in signal, or whatever you want to call it, interference in this connection here. So I think this will be a much better thing. The reason I was wanting to go with edge mount was to keep it super thin, but I'm thinking that if I have these mounted to the back and I like notch the PCB or something so the wires can easily come over, then the battery will be sitting on the back as well, so you won't have to worry about it being too thick. So that's one thing I'm planning to change. I'm going to go ahead and upsize all of these resistors and capacitors to the next size up, or just something a little easier to hand solder, because the next boards, as I mentioned, will be not fully assembled like these were. I'm going to change the voltage regulator. Segfault, he's working on something kind of similar. It's a bit different. It doesn't have all of the boot stuff with it, so these will all become pre-flashed. But he ended up going with a different voltage regulator, and I'm going to do the same. It's not going to have as much of a drop off. I plan to keep the same battery charger. This one seems to work fine. I'll have the same battery connectors, and I will keep the, the 5 volt in. So like if you want to connect, say, a 5 volt solar panel to it, it'll work. Let's see what else is wrong with it. I'm going to change out the GPS. This one works fine, but I found an all-in-one package, again thanks to Sedge Fault, that I want to swap to. It'll just clean up the board a little bit. I can have the GPS just in one corner. That'll either allow me to shrink the board a little more, or just a little more room for everything. I think those are my major issues. So let's see. this board here, I came in here and I pulled off all the resistors and that are part of the resistors and transistors that are part of the auto boot circuitry, so that I could put it into boot mode using the buttons. Because for some reason with that circuitry, I couldn't put it in boot mode using the buttons. However, with this one, I was able to get it into boot mode, but it would still not upload. This one I did get to upload, but my RX and TX lines I had taken off again just to make room. So I wasn't able to see how this particular ESP is working. I'll add those RX and TX lines back just so I can see what's going on. But I have actually flashed one of these, so that's a good sign that that's gone that far. As soon as I get past the flashing issues, I can't think of anything else that there would be. These are very simple. I might run into some issues with the BW16 because I know that some of them are coming from the factory without the stock firmware that was originally working with the BW or with the war driver. So I may have to get a flashing setup to flash these with the old stuff. Other than that, that's the board. Like I said, I hope everything will be working. I have some stuff going on this coming week, so that may put me a little further behind on getting new boards out, but I am going to spend the week up coming to what I have to do redesigning this board. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to wipe it completely clean, going to delete the whole board. I'm going to keep, of course I'll keep my schematic, but I'm going to wipe the board and start from scratch in designing the board, replace the parts I want to replace, upsize the capacitors and everything else. Again, I just want something a little bit bigger. The USB-C seems to be working fine. The dual USB to dual UART seems to be working great. When I plug it in, it goes directly to, or it'll show in Device Manager both devices it's connected to. Again, I have RX and TX mixed up on these, so it doesn't quite work as well as I would like it to right now, but once I get that fixed, it should be a lot better. So let's go through some of the troubleshooting I've kind of done. This was the first board I troubleshot. And this is the board I troubleshot on live stream. So if you want to see that, you can go back to my previous live streams and catch that. We added the RX and TX line. I don't even remember what all we did, but since then, I know for sure I pulled a bunch of capacitors and resistors and transistors off. And I tried wiring in the screen. I had SDA and SCL directly wired onto the proper ESP32. Still couldn't get the screen working, but that could have easily been because of the screen. These screens tend to arrive bad. This is the next one I kind of started working with, and all I was doing with it is I was trying to use a USB to UART other than the dual UART that I have on the board already. So I was using a PCB UART, and none of the PCB UARTs I have are working properly for this. They didn't see anything, they didn't work. I have another one that's supposed to be here. I ordered it over a month ago and it's still not here. So I need to get in contact with them again and see what I can do to get that here. But that's not working. What I ask from y'all is if you have any experience in PCB design, send me some tips. Obviously, I know I want to increase thickness of the traces for any power lines. I want to add a ground plane so that power can be a little cleaner. Probably gonna either up some capacitor sizes or add more capacitors. I know sometimes that can fix some funky issues we're having. Again, I'm gonna get rid of these IPEX and go to something like this. I think that's the way I'm leaning anyway. So that allows us to still have external antennas, a new GPS unit, which I know works. I've already seen it working. Other than that, that's the Signal Sleuth. Hit me up on Instagram or Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, with any questions, with any tips, any comments. I know on X I've already got quite a few comments and stuff. A lot of them are things I've already mentioned I'm going to adjust. If there's anything I didn't mention that you see that's wrong, let me know. I'm gonna post a link to the schematic down below. It is my original schematic. It's before I fixed some of these issues, so you may still see some mess ups in it that were from the original. Some of them have been fixed, but no matter what, if you know what you're looking at and you see something that needs to change, let me know. Another thing in the redesign is I want to move these capacitors and resistors closer to the things that they're working with instead of just doing big banks of them. It's probably not bad doing it this way, but it'll make more sense in my mind anyway if they're closer to what they're actually used on or being used with. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Short video. A lot of people have been asking what's going on with this. It is not a dead project. I fully intend to continue it. I want to continue it. I've already got 42 pre-orders for it, which I am very grateful for. If you want to support the project and go ahead and put a pre-order in, website is in the description. You can put in a pre-order. Again, it says it in the description of the pre-order. I do not have a date for when this will be out. I am working on this as much as I can, but there's a lot for me to still figure out. Hopefully with the redesign of the PCB, fixing some of these power issues, I'm gonna go back to the room 32U instead of the UE, which is it's an end of life, but it is the same ESP32 that's used on the actual war drivers. So I'm gonna go back to these ESP32s, see if maybe that fixes it. This 32UE is supposed to work exactly the same. And when I do get my new PCBs in, I will scavenge some of these ESP32s off of them just to test and see if that is what works. But yeah, again, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't, subscribe. If you like this video, like it. Again, if you want to support the project, you can go ahead and go pre-order. I'm gonna end up releasing some probably shirts and stickers of the PCBs or simple schematics or something like that. I've got a lot in the works, a lot that I want to do. The kits for these war drivers with the new battery board and the new cases that Kron designed, they are currently sold out, but will come back in stock in March, or at the beginning of February for March shipping. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye out for that. Other than that, we'll see you next time.